everyone and welcome back to the channel for today's video. So in today's video I'm going to be switching up my plaza for the Halloween season. If you're not familiar, I do this every kind of like seasonal event. I actually did do a Halloween plaza switch up last year, which I'll link in the description, but obviously at that time my plaza looked completely different to how it does now because I recently redid it. So obviously that video also does give like tips and tricks and shows you how I decorated it last Halloween, so check that out if you do want to see another kind of version of this. But this one obviously is more updated for the different design I went for with my plaza, and also obviously includes a lot more of the new stuff, especially like the new potion house and the fortune teller tent, and also like obviously the starpath stuff. So it does have a lot more, but it has a slightly different vibe, so I'd recommend also looking at that one if you want to. But for this one, let's get started. As you can see, to start off with my plaza, I've placed out all the items I potentially wanted to use, which is a lot of stuff. We actually have a lot more Halloween stuff now than we did before because of the current star path, which is great. I'm so happy about that. So I started deleting some of the stuff from my plaza I knew was going to get switched out, so a lot of the like floral stuff, floral gazebos, and bigger items, so that I could put in the bigger structures first, such as obviously the fortune teller tent and also the potion house and potion stall, because I knew they were going to go in these little spots that I had kind of left over. So I kind of went for the bigger items first, items that were basically replacing other old items. I thought that would just be the best way to do it first, because it means you're literally swapping something for something new, which makes life a lot easier rather than trying to find a spot for, you know, things that need a new home essentially. So that is what I did first, and tried to put in these big items. On the right hand side of my plaza, where I had obviously the little floral gazebo, on both sides I actually do have a like courtyard fountain pond area. Obviously in my original plaza build I can show you how I made that. That is also linked in the description if you want to see the plaza in its natural look before obviously this change up. But I obviously decided to put the fortune teller tent here because it was quite a big space, but it just made the gap between that pond and also the tent way too small. You just couldn't even get through. So I decided just for this switch up I'm going to get rid of the pond, and then obviously once we swap over to the Christmas season, if I have space I will add it back in, because it will be something that will continue to be in my plaza and have that symmetry. But for now obviously I did have to sacrifice that, unfortunately, but I obviously wanted to include the tent in here because I just felt like it fits so well with the vibe and is really cool looking. So I decided to put that in, and then with the Victorian house behind it I decided to switch up a couple of the trees and a couple of the bushes and things like that to just fit more with a Halloween vibe. I didn't change all the bushes and trees because I still wanted it to feel kind of the same vibe as it was before. Obviously the trees just kind of still worked in there anyway, but I wanted to add a kind of addition of some of the more Halloweeny ones, and then I started to do that around the rest of my plaza, as well as changing up some of the fences into the more spooky style. that I then did the same thing on the other side in this gap I'd made where the gazebo was, and added in the potion shop as well as the potion stall. This did take a bit of fiddling around with because obviously it's quite a small space, but luckily this house and stall is pretty small, so I managed to squeeze them in by popping the house on an angle. And then I started swapping out the trees and foliage around the haunted mansion to again similarly kind of match the Victorian house on the other side. I didn't change all the trees, I just kind of tweaked and changed the ones especially at the front to give it a little bit of more of an autumnal and Halloween feel without it feeling too different. And then I started changing up some of the decor around the front. I added in the new statues that we got in the premium shop, the Halloween themed ones, and also again changed up a bunch of the foliage and trees around the coffee shop and the bakery. Now, once I changed up a couple of the trees and foliage pieces around the houses on the other side, I then started adding in new furniture, things that weren't really replacing anything. They were these kind of brand new areas. I started off with this little witchy section next to Charlotte's house. I wanted to use obviously a lot of the new starpath stuff, so I added in the new table and the little potion cupboard, and I also started adding some of the Nightmare Before Christmas little tables around the front of every single building, because I wanted these to be like little tables that you'd put your trick-or-treat buckets on, so it felt like kind of a town vibe where you'd actually go around trick-or-treating in here and grab some candy from the bucket. So that I added around the front. I used the 3 different little buckets we have. If you don't have these, they are actually from the Halloween event that is currently going on, so if you don't have them, by doing the Halloween event you will unlock 2 of these. I think one of them may have been a previous star path, but definitely 2 of them, so these can also be added around. So I did add these around the front of all the houses to obviously fit that theme. Around the rest of the plaza, as you can see, I'm adding in a bunch of the other furniture items that I knew I wanted to use, lots of pumpkins and things like that all around, and I kind of started figuring out how to keep kind of a symmetry with everything, but also add in, you know, new things and kind of make the front of each building quite unique. So I wanted to have different kind of designs around each one, so I decided to kind of figure out what I wanted to do in certain areas, cater to different things. Obviously it was quite hard to tailor them to the buildings because obviously these aren't Halloweeny buildings, apart from obviously the potion shop and also the fortune teller tent. Obviously the haunted mansion kind of is, but obviously the rest aren't. So I wanted to be able to just kind of give them their own areas. Like one of them has a well outside, one of them has obviously the little potion area, so I wanted to keep them feeling quite unique and different, as well as obviously having some symmetry going on as well. thing I definitely wanted to add in here, which I actually ended up loving the look of, was this cocoa kind of like leaf pile that we got from the tapestries in Storybook Vale. Obviously I've used these before to kind of be like lava. I know a lot of people have used them for that because they're really bright and glowy, but in here I just felt like they would be the perfect thing to kind of not only have the autumn vibe but also feel very spooky and kind of, you know, Halloweeny. So I decided to add these underneath some of the kind of main areas. I didn't want to use them too much because I didn't want to overwhelm it, but as you see I kind of added them under some of the core areas all around, and just kept it quite subtle. But these I felt like were a really good thing to use if you do have them, to fit that vibe, and obviously they match with all the orange stuff going on. But even when I look at my plaza from afar I can see these from a miles away, so I really enjoyed popping those in there. And then once I'd done that I added in the final few items that I had a couple of pumpkins I still wanted to add, obviously some candles, some lighting, some things like that, that I could kind of squeeze in those little gaps that were free. The final thing I did in the build was adding some of the floating candles around the plaza. I kind of kept this quite minimal because I didn't want it to be too overwhelming, but you could definitely go more intense with these. But I decided to do candles around the main center part and then add some of the fireflies around the rest because I just feel like they fit with the kind of magical like vibe to it. But obviously you could definitely add more candles now that we can have them outside. But here is the final build. I have made it, you know, sunset time so you can see everything lit up, and as we come out of the well we obviously have our archway, and then we have kind of this main entrance bit. I wanted to keep it quite open so nothing was blocked, but obviously we have got the two sides of the bakery and the coffee shop, which I've added some kind of like Halloweeny food onto the tables, like candy and things like that, just to fit the vibe. Obviously didn't change too much outside these, but obviously then we have our symmetrical benches on either side that obviously add that Halloween theme outside both these buildings, to obviously fit the whole theme of the plaza. And then we have our Halloween Disney Parks entrance arch, which I'm so glad fit here. I was worried it was going to be too big, but I'm really happy it did fit here. So that leads us to the meadow. And then as we head to the right side, we've obviously got our little witchy station outside Charlotte's, and obviously some more like witchy things around hers. We've then got the Mickey Pumpkin Topiary, which I absolutely love and had to include in here, outside Belle's Library, and then obviously the Nightmare Before Christmas car on the road as well. Something else I did in here as well is I changed some of the street lights to the purple and green ones, just because I felt like they really fit the spooky vibes, and I obviously kept some of the yellow lights in here as well, just so it wasn't too intense, and we had a variety of lighting. As we head around, we've obviously got the potion area, and I added a little table outside with a bunch of potions on, which I really think helped elevate it. We've obviously got the Haunted Mansion with the statues outside, and then the green lights behind them really make those stand out. And then we have obviously just our little decorated sections behind the coffee shop and the bakery with the big new tree that we got in the starpath. Heading down to the left, we've obviously got the Lady in the Tramp house, which has got the new well outside that is from the current event. So if you don't have that yet, that is where that is from. You can unlock that, and it has like the crows around it. It's super cool. We've then got the flower shop, which I didn't change too much of the outside of because I still wanted it to have that floral theme, but just minimized it slightly and added in some more Halloweeny stuff to go with it. We've then got our exits to the forest in the meadow, which again, symmetrical completely to the other side, and then a little cart on the other side to obviously have the leaves flying in the air. Behind the fortune teller's tent, which I've added a little kind of like fountain outside. We've also got the Madame Leota table because obviously it matches perfectly with the fortune teller tent. And then obviously we've got our big Victorian house, which has got some green and purple lighting outside, and obviously a slight change to its theme. So here are some shots of the final Plaza. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I did really like my Plaza from last year, but I'm glad this year we had a lot more Halloween-y stuff that we can incorporate, because I felt like last year was sad that we couldn't have any we didn't get any new Halloween-y stuff really. So I'm glad this year we had a lot more to work with, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know down below if you have decorated for Halloween or autumn in your valley. Make sure you like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!